Welcome back to Jennifer Broussard Art. Today we are going to paint the next duck of the month, where I teach beginner mixing and watercolor techniques. The November duck is this cute scarecrow. I am using New York Central paper in cold pressed 100% cotton on an 8x8 block and some M-gram paints. This is the same plate that I used last month. It has nickel Azo Yellow, Quinacridone Rose, and Phthalo Blue. It also has Phthalo Blue red shade. Let's get started. I'm going to start off using a DaVinci Maestro number 3 round. And I think I'm probably going to be able to do the whole painting with this one brush. I'm going to start by mixing a gray. So I'm going to start with yellow, make an orange. And I remember last time we started to make a gray and we had a little too much yellow in the mix. So our mix of red and yellow was not 50-50. I mean, I don't know how you would even measure that. But I added a little extra red this time from what it felt like last time. So I'm going to add a little blue. That's turning it a little bit brown. Now we're getting to gray, a little bit more blue. It's starting to turn green, so I'm going to add a little more red. And I think I mentioned last time that it's easier to mix a gray when you use dark values. This is sort of a mauvey, brownish color. I'm going to add a little more blue. Ooh, now it's getting gray. You don't want to go too far with the blue because then you're starting back over with the other colors again. Now I've got to make another dam. I'm just going to make dry plate between the mix in the middle and the color. Okay, I'm going to wet the duck's head. I'm going to go right over the eye, but not go over the beak. So I'm just using clean water and wetting the paper. I'm going to let that sink in for a little bit while I wet the arms. I think that's all we have for duck body because of these cute overalls. So I'm going to grab a little bit of the gray. I'm going to go right under the hat, a little bit more. I'll just paint in the whole neck in a light value. If you're like me and you forgot to roll off the excess graphite, that's okay. We'll wait for this to dry and then we'll do it. It'll be okay. I'm going to do the same thing to the arms, leaving a little bit of the paper showing. I am going to add a little extra blue, just around, and that's mixing on the paper. I'm going to take a little bit of pigment off by using a damp brush and suctioning it off, just right in the middle. Same thing here and here. Now I think we'll move down to the overalls. I'll get a little bit of blue. We'll just make some of this extra blue. Sort of a denim color. And then what happens if we add that? Not much. So I'm going to add a little bit of red to that. Make it more denim colored, not as bright blue. Okay, now I'm just going to paint in the overalls. I'm going to go right over all of the markings. And I forgot to let it dry so I could erase the graphite. It'll be okay. The first layer of watercolor can be pretty easy on something like this. Your first layer is mostly going to be filling in. But you do want to think about what colors you're filling in with. I'm going to take a little more of the blue. It doesn't matter which one you pick from. I know you probably don't have both of these on your plate. So just take the blue that you have. And I'm going to try to drop some of it in and make some shadows. I'm not used to this brush anymore and I'm going out of the lines a lot. Going to go around this little pocket. See how some of the previous color is still showing through the bright blue I just added. So I think I will let all of this dry and do the next part. It's all dry and I have my kneaded eraser out. And I'm just going to go over all the extra exposed graphite. I noticed it up here because sometimes your graphite paper will just rub on the texture of the paper and leave a little bit of a dusting of it there. Let's do the hat. So we're going to make a brown, so let's make another orange. Going to just take some of this away. I think too, I have an uneven desk. It's not level. And so that's why my paint moves around on the plate. I had a level over here somewhere, but I don't know where it went. Okay, get some blue. Try to turn this brown. Now there's a pretty brown. Okay, let's make a little bit of a lighter brown over here. A little more yellow. That's pretty. Okay, I'm going to do that color on the hat. Remember, we're still in our first layer, so we're just filling in. We'll do details in a little bit. I'm going to also use this color on the shirt. You know, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do yellow on the shirt. Just plain yellow. I can go right over the collar. And we can use that as an opportunity to learn how to glaze. Let's do the feet as well, yellow. Let's add some of that little brown color that's mixing with the dark brown. I think we can do the crow. So let's make a dark. I'm going to get some of the phthalo blue, some of the red, make a dark purple, and get a little bit of yellow. turning. Let's get a little more blue. Okay, now it's a greenish blue. Now I'm going to get some more red. Oh, come on, blue. A little bit of yellow. Okay, that looks good. We'll put one coat of this on the crow. Even over the eye. I'm just going to put a little catch light with some bleed-proof white after this. Let's let that dry. And I think I want to use this gray on the wings. So we'll go like that. And what I forgot about this paper is that it doesn't really let you blend as easily as Arches does. Or lift. So putting on paint on dry paper and then wanting to blend it, you have to act really fast. So I'm going to try that over here. I'm just going to put some under each little feather and blend it. The way that I paint, not being able to lift is a big deal. So I have to remember that about this paper and use it only when I'm going to not expect to be able to lift. So in order to do this on the head, I'm going to wet the neck, under the chin. I'm going to leave up here dry. And I'm going to take some of this color and go right along the edge of the neck. And I'm going to go under the chin and bring it down. I'm going to just sort of wiggle back and forth. I'm going to put a little bit above the bill and under the hat. And around the eye. I'm going to add, you're going to have to wait for that to dry. I wanted to add a little bit more here under the chin, but I want this whole thing to dry so that it doesn't merge up there. Let's work on the feet. Let's get our orange back. Okay. I'm going to go down the legs. And I'm only going to paint the toes. That's a toe. That's the side of a toe. And that's a toe. Make them kind of pointy. I'm going to get this dark brown right off the plate here and add it on the claws. Look how it's separated. Isn't that amazing? Look at that. Okay, what is not? Okay, this I can do. We're going to get some of this color, and on dry paper, we're going to add a few little shadows. I'm going to draw a line there and then spread it out. Okay, same down here. And then with a damp brush, spread it out. And then right here, and then spread it out with a damp brush. So I'm rinsing my brush off, wiping it on a paper towel, and so it's just damp, and then I can spread out the paint. Now we'll just add some seams and some stitches. It's just a light value, but darker than what's on there already. We're not going to get too wrapped up in the details. Okay, let's do the pockets. So in the pocket is going to have a little more value than the outside of the pocket, the pants. Let's do the same thing over here. I'm putting on a little bit of pigment, rinsing my brush, wiping it off, and then spreading it out. There. Softening it. Okay, I want to have a dark brown for this and this all moved together. So I'm going to take some of this dark and add it and put that here on the stick. I have too much water in my brush. There. And I think once that dries, it'll be pure pigment. I can just take some of it off and it'll be nice and dark. All right, let's do the shirt. Now I'm going to do a little plaid shirt with a little red collar. Okay, we already painted it yellow. I'm going to get a smaller brush. I'm getting a 0, a silver white, and I'm going to do some orange stripes going down. I'm not going to worry about wrinkles and shadows and stuff like that. This is just beginning techniques and mixing. Maybe you're using your brushes for the first time, or maybe you're really new at how to control water. It's not easy. So we're just going to make easy stripes, and we're going to let those dry. I'm going to actually get a little bit of the red and put it right here on each side of the buttons. And let's put a little bit of red in between the orange stripes. This brush doesn't have very much water in it, and this, I'm taking a tiny bit of pigment from that little part on the plate. And so it's not moving. It's not moving very much. It's just going to stay right where I put it, kind of like when you paint with tempera or acrylic or something. You do need water on the brush to make the paint move at all. There. And now I can do the collar. I'm going to get a little bit of the orange and add it to this. And you don't have to mix. You can use your palette however you want to use it. Use the colors that you love. This is supposed to be fun. Don't take it too seriously. Okay, now let's let that dry a little bit longer before we do the horizontal blue stripes. And let's work on the bird. Let's get some of this dark, and we're going to add it under the wing. And under on the chest, under the head. And we're going to go up here, but we're not going to do the beak. We're going to leave the beak as is. And we'll come over the head down to where the wing is. So everything but the wing and the beak. I'm using this number 0 brush. And now under the wing here, and I'm going to bring some of that paint down to show some tail feathers. And then on the wing, get a little more. I'm holding the brush up a little higher, up on its tip, and I'm adding some wing feathers. Very basic. Add a little more dark onto this bird. And let's put a little bit of a line on the beak. And now we can do the legs. The legs were kind of a gray color, light gray. So I'm going to get some of that light gray. I'm going to wick because there's a little bit too much water in the brush. And just do the legs. Bring them down. A little bit more gray. There. I'm going to get my number 3 back. And actually, you know, we should keep this brush and do the details on the feet. I'm going to take some of this orange and I'm going to go over these toes one more time. But I'm also going to go over the webbing. Now you see how it's just a little different than the toes. That's glazing. This is all dry, and we're taking a color, transparent color, and going right over it again. And it magically darkens what was already darker and darkens the lightness, the lighter areas, just a little bit more. But you can still tell that it's got some contour. Let's do the beak. I'm going to get some of the orange. I'm going to actually get my number 3 back. Oh, now it's getting dirty. I want it to be nice and bright and cheerful. So I'm going to get a little more yellow. I'm going to put some yellow on the beak over the whole thing. It's a very light value. And I'm also going to do some yellow on the hair, just like a yellow background. This is actually supposed to be straw. And I'm going to put some yellow on the corn. Okay, let's do the blue stripes. I'm just going to take some blue from on the plate right here. And, oh, I got so lucky. Whew, that was close. Okay, let's do some dashed lines. And these you can make these a little wonky so that it looks like it's fabric. Just let it skip and so that it's coming in and out like it's a weave. And we can do the buttons. Let's get some of this dark and make some dark buttons. I want a little more dark somewhere else in this painting. So I'm going to actually do a little more here and a little more here. I'm going to soften. Let's do the detail on the No, it's turning green now. Let's do the detail on the feet. Actually, I think I can use this. Yes. So I'm still using the number 0. And I'm going to go back and forth like little wrinkles on the feet, on the toes. Okay. Let's come back up to the hair and the beak. Let's make an orange. I don't recommend mixing with the 0. Let's get out. I have going to use this number 4. Let's make some orange over here. Now I'm going to put it on the beak, but I'm going to skip the little bump in the front of the beak. Now I'm rinsing out my brush and getting it damp, and I'm just going to move a little more water. There. I think I will add a little bit of the pink using my 0, and I will put that over here and along here. I don't want it to go over that little bump though. I want to keep that bump light. Let's get some more orange. I'm going to tease that out. Put a little bit of that red up here. Okay, let's do the black eye. Let's do the black on the eye. And we'll wait for this to dry and we'll do the nostril. Let's work on the hat. I think this is a little bit too green. I'm going to add a little bit of red. And that's a pretty brown. So same thing, I'm going to do a little bit of straw, like this is a straw hat, and this is going to have just a little bit of straw showing, straw detail, a little bit on the rim, and now I'll have it come this way. Kind of just hatching, cross hatching. And I'm going to make it a little bit darker on this side. Okay, we can use some of this orange to do some more of the hair, the straw. He looks almost like a surfer, like his surfer hair. Let's do a little bit of this dark on. If yours is dry, put your little nostril on right there. And I'm going to take some more of the orange and I'm going to go right along that little line to show the jaw. And then that is still light. So if you are new to Duck of the Month or new to my channel, you'll know that I like to use an Eradicator brush to remove pigment where needed. So if I have some lines that are just a little bit rough, I'll just rub it along wet and dab it off. It's like a little eraser. You see, I made a mistake here and splashed a little bit of blue pigment onto the paper. I tried to get it off earlier just with a paintbrush and water. It didn't quite all come off because it's phthalo blue. And it's a very staining color. It's fine. I have a little bit of orange coming down under the beak, so I'm going to take that off. And I think I'm going to take a little bit off right here. And anywhere where I think the lines just aren't quite neat enough. And this is a little easier to do on Arches paper. On Arches paper, this would just come right off. So I'm going to get the number 1 again. I'm going to get some of this dark, add some of this to it. And do this little stick again. This bottom part is just left to the viewer's imagination. Isn't this duck so cute? Let's finish this. And I'm going to get back this number 4. And we're going to make a little bit of green. So I'm going to get some of this yellow and add a little bit of blue. Now we have a nice light green, which I will put here. This is the very top of the corn plant, kind of like the silk. I'm going to put a little bit more blue in here. Now we're going to mix on the paper. I just have blue on my brush. I'm going to add it to the green just to darken part of it. I'm going to get back my number 0 and get some of the orange. And come up the stalk. This is all that silk that's coming, like corn silk. This is the very top of the corn plant. I guess there's corn silk in the cob too. So I'll get some yellow and add it to this dark. That is like a really, like a green gold. I'm going to add a little red to it, because I want to get back that burnt sienna color. There we go. And I'm going to go like back and forth for some texture. Add a little bit of the brown into this. And then along the stem, and then I'm going to add a little bit more orange. Doesn't have to be touching, it could be floating. You could use your imagination and put a background. You could put a sunset. You could put rows of corn if you want to. Just put a blue sky, add a few clouds if that's what you want to do. To keep these little tutorials short and watchable, I'm trying to keep them to about 30 to 40 minutes. So I'm not going to do a background. I'm going to add some more of this color to the hair. I wanted to touch up the neck. I want to put a little more color down here. I added a little bit of red to this, a tiny amount, to get it back to gray. And I'm just going to come under that chin and I'm going to soften it. And then when that's dry, I will add in this little contour line. And I feel like it needs a little purple. So I'm going to get a little bit of the red and add it to some of this blue and add a little bit of color in here. It needs a little more brightness, I guess. I'm going to get just pink. Now with a damp brush, I can spread that around. I think that looks really cheerful. I'm going to add a little bit of that to here and spread it around. Add a little bit of pink. Ducks don't have pink wings, I know, but it makes it more fun. And it's your painting and you can do what you want. And last part is just some bleed-proof white and my size 0. I'm going to put a teeny tiny little bit of white on the crow. And there you have it. There's our cute little November duck of the month, posing as a scarecrow. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.